Hi everyone, I'm Roanoke. I'm a registered nurse of 3 years, and today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of hands-only CPR. First, I want to set a scene, take you on a trip. Imagine this. You're at home, you're in your front yard, your kids are playing on a swing set. You can hear lawnmowers, you can smell fresh cut grass, there's a warm breeze on your skin. Everything's fine, right? All of a sudden you hear blood-curdling screams. You look across the street, you see your neighbor's wife standing over her husband's dead body. You run over, he's unconscious on the ground, his lips are blue, he's not breathing. Now freeze. What do you do? Most Americans would feel helpless in this situation. Over 70% of Americans don't know CPR, or they no longer feel competent performing it because it's been so long since their training was performed. The scary part about this is that the majority of cardiac arrest, which is a fatal electrical problem in the heart, happen at home. Actually, about 88% of them do. 9 out of 10 of these ultimately end, unfortunately, in death. The reality is simple. The life you save by knowing CPR, by performing some kind of CPR, is most likely going to be the life of someone you know. Today I'm going to teach you about the importance of knowing and performing hands-only CPR, the simplest form of CPR, so that you can be prepared to help in a situation that would otherwise be your worst nightmare. So first, let's talk about a little bit about what CPR is. CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. In most forms, CPR is the performance of chest compressions and rescue breathing to people that have been a victim of drowning, cardiac arrest, or some other event that's caused their heart to otherwise stop beating correctly in a life-compatible manner, or it stopped independently breathing. When CPR is performed by bystanders or emergency medical personnel, survival rates increase from 1 out of 10 to 4 out of 10. So basically, you're doubling or tripling the likelihood that you'll save that person's life. Currently, only about 32% of victims actually receive CPR. Some of the history of CPR actually goes back quite a ways. Mouth-to-mouth breathing can be dated back to 18th century France, first used for drowning victims, whereas chest compressions can be dated back to the late 1800s, but there's no documented evidence that they were successful until about 1903. Hands-only CPR has come about recently. The reason hands-only CPR was kind of born. Over the years, infections have become more prevalent in our society. There's a much larger variety of them. People have become hesitant to perform mouth-to-mouth breathing on someone that they don't know, or they don't know what their medical status is. They're scared that they might get an infection. Hands-only CPR reduces this risk and this problem, because hands-only CPR is CPR that only performs the chest compressions portion of cardiopulmonary resuscitation. In animal studies performed by the American Heart Association and its researchers, they've shown that there's no difference in oxygen delivery or the neurological functions 24 hours later when comparing hands-only CPR cases versus conventional CPR cases. They've also shown in human observations that there was no difference between the two when rated at a 30-day survival rate point post-hospital. How do you do hands-only CPR? Super easy. It takes about 90 seconds. It's a two-step process. Step 1. If you see someone collapse suddenly, first thing you do is call 911. Activate your emergency response system. The person on the other end of the line will be the voice in the back of your head, even if you're hysterical, even if you can't think. They're going to say, do this, do that. It's a lot easier to follow those instructions if somewhere in your brain you have what to do already stored. Step 2. Everybody's heard the classic Staying Alive disco song? Well, turns out the American Heart Association actually recommends to push hard and fast in the center of a victim's chest to the tempo of this song. Reason being, the tempo of Staying Alive provides about 100 compressions per minute, which is the recommended rate of compression during cardiopulmonary resuscitation attempts. A lot more people are more likely to perform CPR, and they feel more confident in their abilities when they do it to something that they're already really kind of familiar with, and they know that that's approved. The important thing to remember during CPR is to push hard and fast. You also want to push deep, about 2 inches in the center of the victim's chest. Some people are afraid they're going to hurt the victim. You cannot do this. They're already clinically dead. Any injuries received by chest compressions are much less threatening than cardiac arrest that is untreated. Another common question is, what happens if I get tired? Even the most trained healthcare professional will get tired by chest compressions. The AHA recommends that providers switch every 2 minutes or about every 200 compressions. Sometimes, however, you may be the only person available to perform CPR. If this is the case, just do the best you can until help arrives, or if there's someone available that is capable of performing CPR and chest compressions, you can instruct them on how to do it until emergency personnel arrive on scene. So let's go back to our story. Your neighbor's just collapsed suddenly. His wife's hysterical. She can't tell you what's going on, what happened. His lips are blue. He's not breathing. What do you do? If your answer is call 911, you're right. Remember to push hard and fast in the center of his chest to the beat of Staying Alive and work until help arrives or until the victim starts coughing, breathing, moving around, or otherwise showing signs of life. Early initiation of CPR after a cardiac arrest or other life-threatening event can make the difference between life and death. Hands-only CPR can be learned in less than 90 seconds, a minute and a half. It can double or triple the likelihood that you'll save the life of a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a loved one. In closing, my question: if it's only 90 seconds to save someone's life, is it worth your time? Thanks for listening.